Hello there YouTube, this is the Rogue Gem Player coming at you with a brand new deck profile and update to Marincess. This is post the October ban list that unfortunately banned a bunch of stuff. Actually not really banned a bunch of stuff, but the previous list that did ban Splash Mage. So we are going to get right into it. This is still a go first, you establish a small board, or you go second mostly and you break a board. And because the entire deck is one card combo, you pretty much have to play one card combo. And not to mention the engine is so small you can kind of get away with it. So we are going to start with 3 copies of Blue Tang. You have to play 3 of it. It's the main starter in the entire deck. It sends Marincess to graveyard, which fuels your other plays, which gets into more advantage. Because you go this into Slug, and then you can continue comboing off from there. It opens up so much. So, not to mention that any one monster gives you access to the rest of the deck, which is actually pretty cool. We do play 3 copies of Spring Girl, the next main normal summon. You know, banish special from hand, and then you can send cards to do a little burn, but the sending is pretty cool. So it does give you more stuff to do. 3 of Parcalis, another one of those where if you're normal or special, you can special from hand. It does recur you the trap wave if you absolutely need to do so by just banishing her. So she is another one of those. It's something that you can just use no matter what. It gives you a lot of advantage that way. And then 3 copies of Seahorse is the last one where you play 3 of. Specials from hand, the same concept, only to a link monster. And then not to mention that, except the turn it was sent, you can banish it to special 1 water from your hand. That is to a zone it doesn't point to, so, or a zone that a link monster points to. So it does give you, you can reestablish a board with this card if you absolutely need to do so. And then the only 2 1-ons we're playing is 1 Trickstar Aqua Angel and 1 copy of Mandarin. Aqua Angel is really neat. The only problem is that the effective special from hand or graveyard only works once per duel. So once you've established this card, you really don't want to see it again. But the ability to look at your opponent's card and all set cards your opponent controls is really neat when going second. Just it allows you to play around things, and then Mandarin is the only one that you absolutely have to play 2 of, or 1 of, just because you send it, and it does recur itself as well, which is cool. So it's free send if you absolutely hit it. And then for the monster non-engine, we are playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, and 2 copies of Nibiru. These are whatever hand traps you have. You can play Ghost Spell if you need it. You can play really anything. If you have Dominus, I believe it's Dominus Impulse. If you have the Dominus cards, you can play those as well. I don't currently own any of the copies of them right now. I really need to go around and pick up some. But the holiday season's around, so I'll probably pick them up during that period. Please note, there's no more Charmies in here. I don't own any copies right now. They are getting reprinted during the month. I think it's the 21st, when the new 5Ds build decks. They'll have 1 copy of each of the 3 Mulcharmies in them. So if you ever get the chance, go ahead and pick those up. So they'll be cheap. Now for spells. For the Marincess engine stuff, we're playing 1 copy of Battle Ocean and 2 copies of Dive. You don't really need to play any more of the Marincess stuff because you're only searching them off of the Sea Angel if you don't already have it. It just gives you just enough to kind of keep going, which is pretty cool. You know, Marincess Dive gives you a recursion if you have it, which is pretty cool. And then if you have Battle Ocean, you can summon from the deck instead. And then Battle Ocean is needed to establish the boards that you want, which is actually pretty cool. For board breaking, we'll play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. Your entire deck is a 1-card combo, so you always have cards in hand to discard for it. So if you absolutely need to do it, you can. We play 3 copies of Ultimate Slayer. This is kind of something I'm kind of testing for a deck like this. It only has 2 targets in the deck, but it does give us something to send. Besides links, of course. But it is something that you can just play, gets rid of something, and it does shuffle back, which is unique in certain circumstances where you can kind of get rid of a monster without destroying it, which can prevent effects from that triggering. so that is cool as well. We then play 3 copies of Lightning Storm. Like, this is kind of one of the new things I'm trying to try out. You can break you force your opponent to break your to either negate this card, or they allow it to be broken. You're just basically using it as a board nuke. It's kind of something that you could use when you're going second to kind of clear a board, so you kind of can play into stuff. And then we're playing 1 called by and 1 cross out, because you have to play these, in my opinion, if you have the space for them. They're absolutely necessary to let your stuff go through. For traps, we're playing 2 copies of Wave. This is the only one I play now. I used to play one of the ones that allows you to tag out, but it's not really necessary. This one is just absolutely broken, because just the fact that you're controlling the link 3 or higher, you can activate it from hand. You can just do all kinds of stuff with it. Makes your monsters immune to stuff for a good turn, which can be the make or break the deck or the turn or not. And then we're playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence to round off the traps. It is 40 cards, if my math is right. So it is 40 cards. So you can play more, you can play less, but like I said, it is a 1-card combo deck where as long as you open 1 monster, you automatically have access to the rest of the deck, which is, I think, is pretty cool. It's also very budget, because a lot of the cards in here are very easy to find, whether it's been reprinted or not. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with 2 copies of Blue Slug and 2 copies of Sea Angel. These are the link ones you absolutely have to play multiples of. The rest of them you can play 1 copy of, and you can kind of get away with it. But you're always going to go into these 2, and then you link up into the link 2s when you need to. So they are absolutely mandatory. Now, we do play 2 copies of Core Enemy. This is the only other one that I would play multiples of. It's just because it recurs a monster instantly, and it's pretty much everything in the deck for the most part. It does give you more stuff if you choose to do so, and it does have added effects beyond being generic water support, so keep that in mind as well, because it does allow you to add Marincess monsters back to your hand. 1 copy of Crystal Heart. With the kind of opening up the extra deck, you kind of have space to play this now. It does give you some immunities if you use it. Not to mention, it does just give you a lot of extra stuff for it, so keep that in mind as well. 1 copy of Marble Rock and Coral Triangle. These are your Link 3s. This recurs a card. This pretty much helps. This searches the trap, which also gives you additional things. It does allow you to recur it if you need it. And then we're playing 1 copy of Bubble Reef and the 1 copy of Argonaut. Argonaut is pretty good now. It's still pretty broken, just because of the fact that you can attach a Crystal Heart to it if you need to. And not to mention, it does give you extra stuff in terms of just being available to your opponent to bounce cards. So, and then Bubble Reef is a good, draw card. And then because of things like Coral Anemone and things like that puts you under a water lock, you can play under World Sea Dragon Zealantis. Now, the way this card is worded, okay, it banishes everything and brings it back, and it's making each player summon them back. Or, sorry, let me rephrase it. It's making you summon them back. So when you're under a water lock, if you banish everything on the board, if anything of your opponents is not water, they stay banished. Which I think is pretty cool, because now it has to be addressed. It's kind of one of those, and it takes any monster. You can turn any of the Link 4s into it. So if you absolutely have to, you can climb into this, board wipe your opponent, and still have plays, because it is a 2500 beater. Yes, it's not perfect, but it does give you stuff if you need it. And then the last Link monster is 1 copy of Arya, just because you need the you need a generic Link that you can play. And then for the Ultimate Slayer targets, I'm playing 1 copy of Garua and the 1 copy of the Cloud Beast Malong. If you want to play an Exceed target, you can, but I feel like Fusion and Synchro is the most common right now. You can add more targets, you can take them out. It completely depends on your preference. You can even cut one of the Link monsters. You can cut Crystal Heart for an Exceed target if you like. But this will change based upon the metagame and this is probably the most common ones because fusions and synchros are the more common ones. Exceeds are not nearly as common unless you're playing very specific versions of decks, and even then they're not playing them. So that rounds off the monsters in the deck in that regard. But like I said, this is kind of one of those cool decks where, yes, it did get a random support card here and there. You know, banlist kind of didn't help. I'm actually very curious how this deck would play in Genesis, actually, without the Link monsters. But it would be kind of one of those weird niche decks where you can kind of do things, but you can make rank 4s. It's not really all that great, but let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.